Stop scrolling. Because what's circulating right now is not confirmed, not proven, and not officially acknowledged, but it's shaking Hollywood anyway. According to unverified online chatter, a hidden CCTV clip allegedly exists from the final moments of Teyana Taylor and Aaron Pierre's relationship, and insiders claim it was never meant to see daylight. No screenshots. No official statements. No denials either. And that silence? That's what is people paying attention. Anonymous posts, private DMs, and deleted comments are all pointing to the same rumor: a security camera, a heated argument, and a moment so chaotic that sources claim it was quietly locked away before anyone could ask questions. Not because it was illegal, not because it was fake, but because, if misinterpreted, it could have been career-damaging for both sides. Here's what makes this unsettling. Multiple blogs say the footage wasn't erased, it was suppressed. Not leaked, contained. And now, according to whispers spreading online, that clip may be circulating privately again. No one has confirmed it exists. No one has denied it either. So the real question isn't what the footage allegedly shows. The question is, why does everyone go quiet when it's mentioned? And once you hear what sources claim happens in those final seconds, you'll understand why this story refuses to disappear. Before we even talk about the alleged hidden CCTV footage, it's important to understand why this rumor hit so hard, and why so many people online believe something was bound to surface eventually. Teyana Taylor and Aaron Pierre were never just another celebrity pairing in the public eye. From the very beginning, their connection drew attention not because of what they showed, but because of what they didn't. No red carpet confirmations. No coordinated interviews. No clean timeline. Just sightings, sudden appearances, and then silence. And in Hollywood, silence has a way of becoming louder than any headline. Online observers were quick to point out that both were at transitional moments in their lives. Teyana, fresh off a highly publicized divorce, was navigating a period many fans described as intense, guarded, and emotionally complex. Aaron, on the other hand, was entering a new phase of visibility, rising fast, suddenly surrounded by industry attention, expectations, and pressure. According to relationship commentators and fan forums, that combination alone made people uneasy. From the outside, everything looked calm. But insiders, or at least people claiming insider knowledge, have long suggested the dynamic behind closed doors was far more complicated. Old blind items, now resurfacing, hint at disagreements, emotional strain, and moments of tension that never reached the mainstream. At the time, those whispers were brushed off as gossip. Now, they're being re-examined through a different lens. What makes this situation different is the pattern people say they noticed after the relationship reportedly ended. No joint statements. No clear explanation. Just abrupt distance. Appearances stopped. Mutual circles went quiet. And according to social media users who track celebrity behavior obsessively, that kind of clean break rarely happens without a trigger. That's where the CCTV rumor enters the picture. According to unverified online posts, the final disagreement between Teyana and Aaron did not happen in a glamorous setting. It allegedly occurred in a private but monitored space, a building with security cameras, access logs, and controlled footage. Some claim it was a residence. Others suggest a studio or secured facility. No one agrees on the location, which only adds to the confusion. What is consistent across these rumors is the claim that there was an argument intense enough to be remembered and potentially recorded. Not staged, not performative, but raw, emotional, and chaotic in a way that doesn't translate well when removed from context. And that, sources suggest, is exactly why the footage was never released. It's important to be clear, no footage has surfaced publicly. No screenshots. No clips. No official confirmation that such a video even exists. But the rumor refuses to die, largely because of what happened afterward. According to multiple blogs, when questions started circulating privately, responses became evasive. Requests for comment were ignored. And those who pushed too hard reportedly stopped getting answers altogether. Fans also noticed subtle shifts. Interviews where names were carefully avoided. Vague language. Statements that felt rehearsed but incomplete. To some, it looked like standard PR behavior. To others, it felt like damage control without an incident being acknowledged. That's why this rumor gained traction. Not because of proof, but because of behavior. Then came the claims of suppression. Anonymous users alleged that the footage, if it exists, was flagged early as something that could be easily misunderstood if leaked. Not criminal, not illegal, just damaging. The kind of clip that freezes a single emotional moment and turns it into a narrative neither party controls. According to these same sources, the goal wasn't destruction. It was containment.
Keep it unseen.
Keep it uncontextualized. Let the relationship fade quietly rather than explode publicly. And for a while, that strategy appeared to work. Until recently. Over the past few weeks, mentions of a deleted clip, security footage, and final argument on camera have quietly resurfaced across forums, comment sections, and private chats. Posts appear, then disappear. Accounts go silent. Threads lock without explanation. Again, none of this confirms anything, but it fuels curiosity. Because if nothing happened, why all the caution? That's the question driving this story. Not guilt, not innocence. But why a moment so private has become such a persistent rumor? Why people keep suggesting there's something recorded that was never meant to be seen? And why, all these months later, the idea of that footage leaking is suddenly back in circulation? And here's where things take a turn. Because according to those following this closely, the alleged CCTV clip isn't just about an argument. They claim it captures the moment everything changed. The moment where emotions crossed a line. Where words were said that couldn't be taken back, and where two public images quietly fractured. But if that's true, and that's still a big if, then the next question becomes unavoidable. What exactly happened in those final minutes, and why are people so afraid of how it would look if the public saw it? Because according to the rumors we're about to break down next, the argument wasn't the end of the story, it was the beginning. According to the unverified accounts circulating online, the conflict between Teyana Taylor and Aaron Pierre didn't erupt out of nowhere. What people describe isn't a sudden blow-up, but a slow pressure build. Weeks, possibly months, of unresolved tension that finally reached a breaking point. Observers who claim familiarity with the situation say the core issue wasn't one single argument. It was a collision of timing, expectations, and control. Both were reportedly dealing with intense professional demands, and sources suggest communication between them had become strained. Messages allegedly went unanswered. Plans reportedly changed last minute. And small disagreements, instead of being resolved, were left to sit and fester. None of this is unusual in high-pressure relationships. What is unusual, according to rumor trackers, is how sharply things allegedly escalated during what's now referred to online as the final confrontation. Here's where accounts start to overlap. Multiple anonymous posts describe a meeting that was meant to be private and brief, a conversation to clear the air. The setting, according to speculation, was a secured location with surveillance cameras running automatically, not actively monitored but always recording. That detail matters because it's the backbone of the CCTV rumor. According to these claims, the discussion quickly turned emotional. Voices were raised. Accusations were exchanged. Not violent, but intense enough that anyone watching without context could easily misinterpret what they were seeing. One anonymous source described it as two people talking past each other, not to each other. Another claimed it was the moment trust finally snapped. Again, none of this is confirmed. But the consistency in how people describe the tone of the argument is what keeps fueling speculation. The alleged conflict wasn't just about personal issues. Rumors suggest it involved career boundaries, what could be said publicly, what had to remain private, and how much of their lives were being shaped by outside forces. Some claim one side felt exposed. Others suggest the opposite, that someone felt controlled or silenced. And this is where the story takes its first major twist. According to several online accounts, the argument may not have ended cleanly. Instead of closure, it allegedly ended with distance. One person leaving abruptly, communication stopping shortly after. And within days, a noticeable shift in behavior, unfollowing patterns, canceled appearances, and a sudden absence of shared circles. To the public, it looked like a quiet fade out. Behind the scenes, rumor has it, it was anything but quiet. Here's the twist that changed how people interpreted everything. Some claim that after the argument, someone realized it may have been captured on camera. Not during the moment, not immediately, but afterward. And that realization, according to speculation, triggered a completely different response. Instead of discussing what happened emotionally, attention allegedly shifted to containment. Who had access to the footage? How long was it stored? Could it be requested? Could it be leaked? These questions, if the rumors are to be believed, suddenly mattered more than the argument itself. This is where the idea of suppression first appears. Anonymous commenters allege that the footage wasn't destroyed. That would have raised red flags. Instead, they claim it was archived, flagged, and quietly placed out of reach, accessible only through formal processes no outsider would realistically pursue. If true, that changes the narrative, because it suggests the concern wasn't guilt, it was optics. A single clip, stripped of context, could have frozen a heated moment forever. Facial expressions, body language, raised voices, a pause at the wrong time, all of it open to interpretation. In the age of viral outrage, that kind of footage doesn't stay neutral for long. And here's where speculation intensifies. Some rumor sources claim both parties agreed that the footage should never surface. Others suggest only one side pushed for caution while the other simply disengaged. No one agrees on the motivation, only that there was a shared understanding that the video, if real, would cause damage no one could fully control. What makes this twist unsettling is what followed. Instead of leaks dying down, they grew quieter but sharper. Mentions of the argument disappeared from mainstream gossip sites, but continued in private spaces, group chats, DMs, closed forums. People stopped asking what happened and started asking what was recorded. Then came the second layer of the twist. According to resurfaced blind items, someone outside the immediate circle allegedly became aware of the footage's existence, not the content, just the fact that it existed. That knowledge alone, sources claim, created anxiety. Not because they planned to release it, but because they could. And suddenly, the story wasn't about a breakup anymore. It was about leverage. Now, to be very clear, there is no evidence that anyone attempted blackmail, threats, or manipulation. Those claims remain speculative and unproven. But the fear of misinterpretation, of losing control of the narrative, is something industry insiders openly talk about in general terms. A private argument is survivable. A leaked clip is not. That's why, according to rumor analysts, the silence afterward felt deliberate. No clarifications. No defenses. No emotional interviews. Just distance and carefully neutral language. The kind that avoids reopening anything that might invite deeper scrutiny. And yet, despite all this effort, the story didn't disappear. It mutated. Instead of asking who is right or wrong, people began asking a different question. If the footage is harmless, why protect it so fiercely? That question alone is what reignited interest months later. Because rumors don't survive on proof. They survive on unanswered questions. And the biggest unanswered question remains this. If that CCTV footage truly captured nothing more than a bad argument, why does the idea of it leaking still make people uncomfortable? According to those following the story closely, the reason may not be what was said, but when it was said, the timing, the emotional state, the context the public would never see. And that leads directly into what many consider the most disturbing part of this entire situation. Because according to the whispers we're about to unpack next, the footage may not be the most explosive element of this story. The real shock, they claim, is what happened after the cameras stopped mattering and how a private conflict quietly turned into a public mystery. This is the point where the story stops being private speculation and starts spiraling out of control. According to online rumor trackers, everything changed the moment whispers about the CCTV footage escaped private circles and began surfacing in semi-public spaces. Not mainstream headlines, not verified blogs, But places where rumors usually start before they explode, anonymous accounts, burner profiles, and heard it from a friend, posts that vanish within hours. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. IT wasn't just there was a fight. It became someone knows something. And once that idea took hold, panic allegedly followed. Sources who claim industry proximity say the tension wasn't about the footage being leaked tomorrow, it was about the loss of control. Because once people believe something exists, it doesn't matter whether it's ever released. The damage starts immediately. Speculation fills in the gaps faster than facts ever could. Then came the reveal that escalated everything. Several unrelated accounts, posted days apart, all hinted at the same unsettling detail. The footage allegedly was reviewed by more than one person, not watched publicly, not shared widely, but seen. That single claim changed the temperature of the conversation overnight. Because if true, it means the clip didn't just sit untouched in some forgotten archive. It means eyes were on it, judgments were formed, reactions happened quietly behind closed doors. And here's where the story takes its most shocking turn so far. According to one widely circulated but unverified thread, the footage doesn't show a dramatic explosion, no physical violence, no cinematic meltdown. Instead, what allegedly makes it disturbing is how raw and unguarded both individuals appear. The kind of moment that was never meant to be frozen in time. Raised voices, emotional pauses, someone saying something they didn't expect to be recorded or remembered. Insiders claim it's not shocking in a scandalous way. It's shocking in a human way. And that's exactly why they say it was considered dangerous. Because context disappears online. A tense exchange becomes a breakdown. A defensive posture becomes aggression. Silence becomes guilt. One anonymous comment put it bluntly, 10 seconds clipped out of that footage could rewrite the entire story. Whether that's true or not, the idea alone ignited paranoia across fan communities. And then, almost on cue, behavior online began to change. Old posts were scrubbed. Fan pages went quiet. Comment sections were locked. Interviews avoided specific timelines. Nothing dramatic. Nothing obvious. But enough for people watching closely to notice a pattern of avoidance. This is where the escalation turns psychological. Rumor analysts suggest that once the possibility of exposure existed, everyone involved shifted into damage prevention mode. Not reacting, not denying, not engaging. Because any response could invite follow-up questions, and follow-up questions lead to digging. Then came the most chilling reveal yet. According to resurfaced blind items, the footage may have been referenced, indirectly, in private industry conversations. Not as a threat, not as gossip, but as a factor. Something unspoken, yet understood. A reminder that certain narratives were better left untouched. Again, there is no proof of this. But the fact that multiple sources independently use similar language is what raised eyebrows. And just when it seemed like the story might fade again, another twist hit. A supposed timestamp. One anonymous post claimed the argument took place just days before a major professional milestone, a moment when both reputations were especially vulnerable. That detail reframed everything, because it suggests the stakes weren't just emotional, they were strategic. If that timing is accurate, it would explain the extreme caution afterward. Why risk reopening a moment that could be reframed, misread, and weaponized at the worst possible time? And yet, despite all this caution, the rumors didn't die. They evolved. Instead of focusing on what the footage shows, people began asking, who else knows about it? Who's seen it? And why hasn't anyone shut these rumors down completely? That last question is the most dangerous one of all. Because in celebrity culture, silence is rarely neutral. It's often interpreted as calculation. And now, according to those tracking the story, the conversation has reached a breaking point. The footage itself almost doesn't matter anymore. What matters is the uncertainty, the feeling that something unresolved is still sitting in the background, waiting to resurface, waiting to be reframed, waiting for the wrong person to talk. And that brings us to the stage where rumors become movements. Because once fans Critics and observers start choosing sides. Once they begin defending or accusing based on fragments, the situation stops being about two people entirely. It becomes a public battleground. And what happens next, according to online chatter, may be the most volatile phase yet, the moment when the audience itself starts shaping the narrative. This is where everything officially slipped out of private control. Once the rumors about the alleged CCTV footage reached wider audiences, the reaction wasn't calm curiosity, it was instant polarization. Fans didn't wait for proof. They chose sides first and asked questions later. Within hours, timelines were flooded with theories. Not facts. Not confirmations. Narratives. Some fans insisted the rumors were exaggerated nonsense, calling it another example of internet obsession turning nothing into something toxic. Others claimed the silence itself was suspicious, arguing that if there was truly nothing there, someone would have shut the story down already. And that split only grew louder. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds. One side shouting, "Stop dragging this." The other demanding, "Then explain the footage." What made things worse was the way industry-adjacent voices reacted, or rather, didn't. No direct statements. No public clarifications. Just carefully neutral language from people who usually speak freely. Entertainment journalists began referencing the situation indirectly. Phrases like ongoing speculation, unverified reports, and online chatter appeared in articles that never actually named the footage, but clearly circled it. That kind of wording doesn't confirm anything, but it signals awareness. And awareness is fuel. Then came the celebrity reactions, or the lack of them. A few public figures posted vague messages about privacy, boundaries, and how narratives get twisted online. No names were mentioned, but the timing was impossible to ignore. Fans immediately connected the dots, screen recording stories before they disappeared and reposting them as proof of inside knowledge. Was it intentional? Was it coincidence? No one knows. But perception doesn't wait for answers. Industry insiders, according to gossip trackers, reportedly advised extreme caution. Not because of legal danger, but because of reputational volatility. Once a rumor reaches this level, even denying it can backfire. A denial invites follow-up questions. Follow-up questions invite digging. And digging invites reinterpretation of old moments. So instead, the strategy appeared to be non-engagement. But the public didn't read that as neutrality. They read it as tension. Hashtags began trending, not massive ones, but persistent ones. The kind that resurface every few days, refusing to fully disappear. Each time, the conversation grew more intense, more emotional, and more speculative. Some fans began rewatching old interviews, slowing down clips, analyzing body language, freezing frames. A smile here, a pause there. Suddenly, everything was being reinterpreted through the lens of what we didn't know back then. That's when the backlash escalated. Certain fan communities accused media outlets of protecting celebrities. Others accused bloggers of manufacturing drama for clicks. The argument stopped being about the footage entirely and became about who controls truth online. And right in the middle of that chaos, industry silence continued. No confirmations. No denials. No legal threats. That absence became its own headline. One entertainment columnist wrote, "In Hollywood, the loudest message is often the one not sent." That quote spread faster than any rumor because it validated what people already felt, that something unresolved was being actively avoided. But here's where reactions took an even darker turn. Some voices began warning against speculation, arguing that turning rumors into conclusions could cause real harm. Others pushed back, saying public figures benefit from visibility and can't selectively demand privacy when narratives turn uncomfortable. That ethical divide only sharpened the debate. And just when it seemed like the story had reached saturation, a new statement began circulating. Not official, not verified, but powerful enough to reignite everything. A supposed industry source allegedly said, "This isn't about what happened. It's about what people think happened, and that's harder to fix." That line hit hard, because it suggested something chilling. Even if the footage never surfaces, even if it never existed at all, the damage might already be done. Perception had replaced proof. And now, the pressure wasn't just on the individuals involved. It was on the entire system, media, fans, insiders, all tangled in a story no one could fully control anymore. Which leads to the most unsettling realization yet. Once a rumor reaches the stage, it doesn't need confirmation to survive. It feeds on reaction, on division, on silence. And according to those watching closely, the situation is now balanced on a razor's edge. Because all it takes is one unexpected reveal, one misstep, one resurfaced detail, to completely flip the narrative overnight. And that final shift, they say, may already be in motion. Just when it seemed like the story couldn't get any more unstable, a final twist quietly surfaced, and it changed how some people interpreted everything that came before. According to the latest wave of unverified chatter, the most explosive part of this situation may not be the alleged CCTV footage at all. It may be what no one has talked about. Several anonymous sources began hinting at a disturbing possibility that the footage was never meant to explain the argument, but to lock the narrative in place. Not to reveal the truth, but to prevent alternative versions of events from ever gaining traction. If that sounds unsettling, that's because it is. The theory goes like this. Once a moment is recorded, even if unseen, it becomes the default reference point. Anyone who knows it exists adjusts their behavior around it. Conversations change. Statements become vague. Memory itself starts bending around what might be on that tape. Whether this is true or not doesn't even matter anymore. Because the fear of interpretation is often more powerful than interpretation itself. Here's the twist that really shook observers. Some insiders now claim the footage may never be released, not because it's damaging, but because releasing it would end the mystery. And the mystery, once gone, would collapse the leverage, the speculation, and the unspoken control it holds over the narrative. A released video can be debated. A hidden one can be imagined infinitely. That's why, according to these whispers, the footage's value lies in its absence. And that brings us to the most chilling part of this entire saga. A few sources claim that discussions about the footage have recently gone quiet again. Not louder, not more frantic, but deliberately quiet. As if everyone involved has agreed, silently, to stop circling the subject altogether. In rumor culture, that kind of silence doesn't signal resolution. It signals containment, which raises one terrifying question. What happens when containment fails? Because stories like this don't end with clarity. They end with slips. A misquoted line. A leaked DM. An offhand comment in an interview. One sentence that opens the door just enough for everything to rush back in. And according to those tracking the situation closely, that door may already be cracking open. Not with footage. Not with proof. But with timing. There are whispers of upcoming appearances, interviews, and moments where questions can't be fully controlled. Where pressure mounts. Where silence becomes harder to maintain. And if that happens, the narrative could flip overnight. Because once someone decides to speak, even indirectly, the existence of that footage will stop being a rumor and start being a shadow over every word. So here's where things stand now. No confirmations. No denials. No footage. Just a story suspended in midair, waiting. Waiting for the wrong question. Waiting for the wrong moment. Waiting for the truth, or at least a version of it, to escape. And when it does, this won't be the end of the story. It will be the beginning of something far bigger. Now it's your turn. Do you think this alleged CCTV footage really exists, or is the silence around it telling a bigger story than any video ever could? Thinking Face, drop your honest thoughts in the comments, because this debate is far from over. If you've been watching closely till the end, hit like. It tells us you want the real tea, not the surface level stuff. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because if even one new detail slips, you'll hear it here first. And remember, some stories don't explode all at once. They leak.